Hello, I'm Dr. Vanita Rattan, a medically qualified doctor and a cosmetic formulator specifically for skin of color. Today's video is how to minimize pores. Now, for skin of color, the issue runs deeper, literally. So there's this big myth that because you have oily skin, you have large pores. Think again. Every ethnicity have different average pore sizes and pore density, which affects the overall skin appearance. Based on a multi-ethnicity study, pore sizes can vary significantly across different ethnicities, and here's a summary of their findings. So interestingly, the largest pore sizes were with Brazilian women, who have an average pore size of 0.37 millimeters squared. This is likely due to their higher sebum production and environmental factors. The smallest pore size, unsurprisingly, is from Asian women who have a pore size of 0.05 millimeters squared. This would be attributed to their genetic factors and lower sebum production. This is why Koreans have glass skin. They're genetically predisposed to it. The pore size for Indians is generally moderate pore size. We have larger than Asian skin, but smaller than black skin. Indian skin tends to produce more sebum, which can contribute to larger, more visible pores. When it comes to environmental factors, hot and humid climates can also exacerbate oil production and pore visibility. Now, the problem with larger pores is that they can lead to a higher incidence of acne and clogged pores, so that leads to blackheads. So when it comes to black skin tends to have larger pore size, plus there's more sebum production, plus there's a higher density of pores per centimeter squared. So the larger pore size and higher sebum production can make black skin more prone to clogged pores, but it can also provide better natural moisture retention. Here's something most people don't realize. Pores on darker skin tones don't just clog and vanish. Research shows that up to 70% of blackheads and clogged pores in skin of color can result in PIH, post-inflammatory hyperpigmentation. This means that every clogged pore leaves behind a dark mark, creating a cycle of frustration that no amount of scrubbing or masking will fix. But here's the twist. Most of the products marketed to shrink pores or to get rid of blackheads usually make things worse for us. For example, aggressive exfoliation, pore strips, overly drying cleansers damage the skin barrier. Toners with a denatured alcohol that are also meant to minimize pores also worsen our skin and actually leads to premature aging. These things also trigger more oil production, which then leads to bigger looking pores and even hyperpigmentation. And this is a problem. And honestly, it's something that is wildly frustrating if you have large pores. All you're doing is, wasting your money on products that say are going to improve your pores, but make situation worse. Sometimes it even looks good initially, and then it looks worse and you don't understand why, and that is why. So the question you're probably asking is, why does this happen to skin of color? How is this possible and how has this not been fixed yet? This is because the skincare industry rarely designs products specifically for melanin-rich skin. The result is you're stuck with treatments that aggravate rather than heal. But what if I told you there's a way to work with your pores instead of against them? We're breaking down the science, the mistakes, and the actual products that will help to regain your control. So what are pores and why do they get clogged? So pores are openings in your skin that release oil and sweat. They're not bad, they're actually essential for your skin's health. Sometimes people get a bit confused between pores, blackheads, and sebaceous filaments, and of course whiteheads. These are the differences. Blackheads are caused by oxidized oil and dead skin cells in the pore itself. So the black color isn't dirt, it's the oil reacting with oxygen. These are more common in oily areas like the nose, the chin, and the forehead. Sebaceous filaments, however, are natural, and they happen when oil collects in the pore. They are not blackheads. These show up as tiny uniform dots on the nose and the T-zone. Whiteheads. Now, these occur when a pore gets clogged but stays closed. So it's basically trapped bacteria and oil inside. If you're breaking out around the cheeks or jawline, it's often hormonal, and often 40% of people with skin of color misdiagnose normal sebaceous filaments as blackheads or end up basically over-exfoliating, trying to get rid of it. This then damages the skin barrier, leading to hyperpigmentation. This is why it's important for you to know the difference between blackheads and sebaceous filaments. Now, common mistakes making pores worse. Number one is using pore strips. We've talked about this before. They basically rip off the surface layer, damage the skin barrier, often worsening pores over time. And it can really sensitize the skin. If you then, for example, go and put on retinol onto a damaged skin barrier, you're going to burn the skin and lead to more pigmentation. This is why it's so important you are gentle with your skin and don't do anything too aggressive. Your skin becomes more sensitive as you get older, so you have to become more careful with age. Mistake number two, overusing clay masks. So yes, the clay masks are great at absorbing oil, but if you use them too often, it dries out the skin. And this then triggers the sebaceous glands to produce more oil. So this is important to know. You don't want to overdo it. Mistake number three is ignoring your SPF. UV rays damage collagen, making pores look larger over time. A 2020 meta-analysis showed that people who used SPF daily had visibly smaller looking pores after 12 weeks. There was reduced inflammation and collagen was preserved. Now, the most important part of the video, how to treat and minimize the look of pores. So how do we treat it? What is the routine? When it comes to the morning, look for a gentle cleanser with salicylic acid. This is your BHA. It's your fat-soluble acid that will exfoliate the inside of the pore. And that's what you want to do to unclog it. So when you look at acids, there are lots of different types. There's your AHAs, your BHAs, and your PHAs. Don't get confused, just look for salicylic acid. If you can, you want to have it combined with niacinamide, because what niacinamide does is it controls sebum production. Now imagine those two working simultaneously together. In 2021, a meta-analysis confirmed salicylic acid's ability to reduce pore clogging by 67% after just 4 weeks. Another study on niacinamide showed a 23% reduction in oil production, leading to less visible pores. The thing to note is that salicylic acid can really dry the skin. So when you do look for your salicylic acid face wash, make sure it has high ratio of humectants. And that is what I did for you in your Trio Blemish face wash. So the key actives in this is your salicylic acid and your niacinamide, plus a high percentage glycerin. I also added in your anti-inflammatories. And the reason is that if you have inflammation, it is going to be very bad for collagen preservation. You want anti-inflammatories, especially if you have oily, acne-prone skin, because your skin is already inflamed. And that's what we did with the Trio Blemish. Next, look for a lightweight moisturizer. You want something that's non-comedogenic, so something that's not going to clog the pores. Ideally, it'd be great to have something with vitamin C in it, plus ceramides, plus niacinamide, and even if we get peptides in there, it's better because that also helps with collagen production, which will help to minimize the look of pores. And this is what we did with the AM gel. So in here, I've put in 2% sodium ascorbate phosphate, your vitamin C, 2% niacinamide, plus your ceramides and your peptides. It's very lightweight. It comes out like this, and it's your AM gel. So you wear it in the morning underneath your sunscreen. That's what it looks like on the skin. You want to avoid denatured alcohol toners and avoid witch hazel. So whichever moisturizer you buy, that's absolutely fine. Just have a look at the back. Make sure there's no denatured alcohol, no witch hazel. You also want to avoid things like fragrance, of course, because fragrance can lead to contact dermatitis, which can irritate the skin, inflame the skin, and yes, make your pores look worse. Then you, of course, want to wear your SPF 50. I prefer mineral sunscreen over chemical sunscreen, so that's your zinc oxide sunscreen. The reason is it's anti-inflammatory. And as we've discussed, any form of inflammation will make your pores look worse. So what we're going to do is soothe the skin during the day. You also want to make sure that your sunscreen has got no denatured alcohol, no fragrance, and no essential oils either. So these are just the bare basics. I created Inzincable for you. This is the world's first mineral SPF 50 with no white cast for skin of color because it just didn't exist. All the mineral sunscreens were giving a white cast because zinc oxide is very, very white. So with this, we had to have something that didn't give you any flashback, that blended so nicely into the skin, was anti-inflammatory. I also put in MelaShield, so that is your tyrosinase inhibitors and your blue light protection, plus niacinamide. So niacinamide is in this as well, which will also help with your pores. Now, when it comes to your nighttime routine, you want to double cleanse. Use your oil-based cleanser to dissolve makeup and sunscreen, and then use more of a gel-based cleanser after, so your micellar gel wash. Then use your exfoliator Exfoliator. So you're looking for 2% salicylic acid 3 times a week. The Ordinary does a very good one. So this is the one that we made for you. This is a 2% salicylic acid. Now, remember I told you before, salicylic acid can be very drying to the skin. So it sprays onto the skin like this. And we put in a high percentage glycerin to ensure that your skin doesn't feel dry. Plus we put in green tea extract, which is your gentle tyrosinase inhibitor that will help with any underlying hyperpigmentation as well. Next ingredient you want in your skincare routine is your retinol. So this helps to boost cell turnover, helps to unclog pores over time. So I've made a whole video for you on retinoids, but just very simply for this video, the way retinoids work when it comes to pores is it basically stimulates collagen production, which helps to minimize the appearance of the pores. You tend to see results after about 12 weeks. There are lots of different retinols and retinaldehydes on the market. I made a whole video on the best and worst. So the one we've made for you is actually in the PM gel. This is retinol plus retinaldehyde. But I also add a lot of other tyrosinase inhibitors into this product. That's why it's looking a little bit yellow. And so this will help with any pigmentation on the skin as well. So that is when you would use this particular product. If you have, for example, acne or acne PIH, this is going to work really well with it. Otherwise, just go for a very basic retinol. So for example, I love Paula's Choice. That's at 0.3%. And if you're more of a beginner, then I really like this one, which is Fab Skin Lab, 0.25%. Now, everyone's skin is slightly different. So if, for example, you have more oily acne-prone skin, go with the PM gel as your moisturizer, or you can use it as a serum underneath your Cera Pep Brightening Moisturizer if your problem is that you have more dry skin. So this is a thicker cream, as you can see. It's your ceramides, peptides, has niacinamide in it, has licorice root extract as well for hyperpigmentation. So it also depends how much of an issue is hyperpigmentation for you, or just general discoloration or patchiness of color. This does tend to happen again as we age because our melanocytes are remembering melanocytes. They remember every little bit of injury that's happened to the skin, whether it is one scratch, one bite, or one burn, but also when sun is hitting the skin. You will notice that you tan slightly patchy. It's never really perfectly even, and that's the reason I put licorice root extract into the Cera Pep Brightening Moisturizer. Now you know how to shrink your pores. Watch what mistakes not to make.